Now I don't care for Tom Brady. I'm not a football guy. I always thought he looked like kind of Frankensteinish. Like, I'm of no interest to this. But boy, B show, was this a hot entertainment topic this week?
Whew. Well, for a couple reasons, they really went there, and in an era that I think we talked about this offline a little bit.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of comedians who complain about cancel culture and you can't say anything and all this stuff. They sure as fuck didn't care this night because
No.
from Tony Hinchcliffe to Jeff Ross and dude, Jeff Ross is I could
He's a,
watch him
yeah.
roast people all day long.
Yeah.
Just he's a fucking a genius when it comes to that shit.
Oh yeah.
But in an era where everyone says you can't say anything anymore, these guys said everything, and there's been
Everything.
very little blowback.
Very little, if not none. Nikki Glazer was very good also. Kevin Hart was supposedly, from what I saw, the weakest, which is odd because he's the most famous person there. Um, Really, I think the big story out of that was Tony Hinchcliffe, who I personally I consider him a little bit of a Rogan flunky. Like, he's good at the roast shit and the Kill Tony stuff, but whatchamacallit, Joe Punch is talking about Nikki Glazer, wifing up Nikki Glazer, and Emilio Rojas is talking about Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer. Yeah, I like Bert. I don't Tom's I think a little bit of a phony. I like Bert quite a bit as a person. I just think he's a real guy. But really, Tony Hinchcliffe B show. I mean, we have to just give him all the props here, don't you think?
Yeah, like when I listened to Rogan back in the day, I was more into like when he had Duncan Trussell on and they would talk about
He's a big
DMT
weirdo.
and Clockwork Elves. They just go nuts and it's just fun
He's a
because
big
they're being
weirdo,
goofy.
Duncan. Yeah, yeah, he's a
Yeah,
big
but
weirdo.
it's funny to watch because it's just two dudes being goofy.
Yeah,
Tony Hinchcliffe, obviously he's a WWE fan, and
he's a
it's
big
cool
wrestling
to
fan overall. Yeah,
it's cool to see him, talking to guys like Undertaker and who was it, Jake when they were on, so he could walk Rogan through some of that stuff. But I
yeah,
never really thought much of him until I started seeing clips on Kill Tony.
yeah,
And
yeah. My
what,
brother Mike too. He says the same
yeah, and
thing.
what I never got about Kill Tony is he's doing arenas with that shit.
Yeah, it's big. I mean, listen. Could I watch him do stand up for an hour? No, but the things that he's like, this is a case where I think this is a guy. This is what he does, and this is what he does well, and that's why he killed. Like, now listen, I would like to try to play some of the highlights from Tony because they're not just on YouTube, Isha. They're on every social
Okay,
media
let me go to
platform.
Twitter and see if I can find him.
Yeah, I think yeah, you can pull them on Reels or something. But for people that haven't seen it, um, you know, uh, he really dominated. I mean, I sent you his whole bit because I only seen the clips. I don't know if Andrew Schultz killed. I'm getting a little tired of Andrew Schultz's shtick, but why don't we try to play it off Twitter? I don't think we'll have a problem here.
Yeah,
You might have to
Andrew
back it up a little
Schultz.
bit.
He
Andrew
reminds
Schultz
me of
is
one of
fine.
those guys that got an opportunity because he like self-promoted a lot, but
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
really ready
yeah.
for
He's a
the
very
spotlight.
talented guy. I like him a lot, but like I just think I'm good. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I get it.
yeah.
So let's play some of Tony's stuff here on Twitter so we don't get kicked off
Parade of
YouTube.
the Giants, which is why Kevin Hart is hosting tonight. All night, he's been using the stool that Aaron Hernandez kicked out from under himself.
Yeah. Now,
Kevin
by
is
the way,
so
can we
small
pause
that
right
when his
there?
Yeah.
So apparently that was one of the things people were upset about, like Aaron Hernandez's widow is upset about, which is funny because I don't think she was upset about the people he murdered, but she was upset about the
Mhm.
joke. So she could, sorry. I know you didn't do anything to anybody, but I have no sympathy there for Aaron Hernandez should be made fun of emphatically. Don't you think so, Bisho?
Absolutely. It's like Chris Benoit. Like
Yeah.
someone telling a Chris Benoit joke. Like who was it? Someone was telling a joke about him with a Bowflex or something.
Is he
And
all
it'd be
elite?
like no,
No. Chris Benoit's all elite?
it doesn't matter. If he's not all elite, it doesn't matter.
Right.
He's nothing. But no, like that would be like his Nancy's sister being upset because someone made fun of it. It's like, look, we
Well,
understand
not
it
making fun of
sucks, but
Nancy. I'm talking about like making jokes about Benoit. I mean, the guy's a murderer. I mean, no one's glorifying him by making fun of him. You know what I mean? Like it's a little different there. I just think, someone had to do an Aaron Hernandez joke, right? I mean, they just had to do it. But that was a pretty good one, Bisha, don't you think?
absolutely. I can't believe there were so many moments where like I couldn't believe something was said, and that was the big one for me.
That was a big one. That was a big
And
one for me too.
let me ask you before, because we're gonna play some more of this.
Yeah. And these are just highlights of this is not his full set. It's going to be bing, bing, bing. But go ahead.
Yeah. So do you think people are finally realizing that the outraged people on Twitter are a very small amount of people, and you can still do this shit and just ignore them.
I have a theory, but it's going to open a can of worms. But I'm just going to leave it at this. All the outraged people are busy complaining about the Middle East. That's what I think it is. I think they're very busy. They have hyper focus now because they have to attach themselves to one thing and run that thing to death. So I think possibly if we didn't have what's going on in Gaza, which we will never discuss here, other than this context, because that's not what we do. But I think they're so focused on that they're not focused on a guy making inappropriate jokes. If that wasn't going on, they would be more focused on trying to cancel Tony Hinchcliffe. That's what I
Yeah.
think, but I don't know if I'm right or not. But
I know I buy that. I buy that, but there's
they're too
also
busy.
it's
They're too
almost
busy.
I get that. I think that's part of it too. But I noticed Louis did some shit and went away. Tony was supposed to have been
They tried
canceled.
to
Tony
cancel him, yeah,
Hinchcliffe.
for some Asian stuff a few years ago. I remember that very
And
well.
nothing happened. And Shane
Nothing
Gillis
happened.
is hosting SNL after getting fired 2
Bigger
years
than
ago.
ever. Yeah, bigger than ever. Yeah, so there's definitely evidence for that. But these guys also earned it with good material, right? So like Tony's doing good material.
Well, that's another thing too. There's a lot of comedians, and we'll talk about Seinfeld in a little while.
Yes, we
But
will. We are gonna talk about
Seinfeld has been talking about, oh, this PC crap. And it's like, you're the safest, most vanilla, like milk toast fucking dude doing comedy. You're not pushing boundaries and shit. Why are you complaining about PC stuff? Like
Yeah,
there's all these other
I mean,
guys
I
that are
kind of
doing
get
it.
what he's saying. It doesn't negate what he's saying because it
He's
wasn't
not
his cup
wrong,
of tea.
right?
I think at the end of the day, he's one of these like Leno's like that too. Like they consider they don't even consider themselves men or humans or comedians. Or they would say they're a comedian above anything else. They like the comedian before death. Like the art is that important to because this art gave them everything. Chappelle's
Right.
like that too, dude. Like it's the art is above everything. Is above everything, anything and anything else. The art comes first. What's up, Mr. Yarsifer?
Well, do you think Chappelle had something to do with that then? He came out and had all this
Yeah,
fucking public stuff and nothing really ever happened to him. So people said,
yeah,
what the
but
fuck?
Chappelle also, came out in 2020 and did that thing during COVID about George Floyd that people considered a watershed moment, like one of the most powerful moments. And then 8 months later or a year later, they want to cancel him for trans stuff. It's like sometimes you can't win. Like, you know what I mean? Honestly.
Yeah.
But let's play some of these highlights in case some people haven't heard it because they're just really good. They're really great stuff.
Considering he looks like a Confederate fag. Clearly,
Oh, you got to
your
rewind that a
ex-wife
little bit.
takes after you. I
All
hear
right.
she's a patriot.
Yeah, and we got a little bit more volume. That's
surprising
as loud as it's gonna
considering
get.
He looks like a Confederate fag. Clearly,
That's
your
it.
ex-wife takes after you. I hear she's out there draining balls right now.
So great.
People love you, Tom. You have the same fan base as Kyle Rittenhouse. Gronk, I'm happy you could take a break from writing Santa letters to be here today.
That's pretty
I knew
fantastic.
you were here when we were all out of chocolate milk backstage. You look like the final boss in George Floyd, the video game.
Jesus.
Jeff is so Jewish, he only watches football for the coin toss. Nikki has such a bad eating disorder, the industry keeps shoving her down our throat. You might recognize her from her podcast appearances, specials, and winning the Triple Crown at Churchill Downs.
I love
You might
that.
recognize Kevin as the jockey that rode her. And that's Churchill Downs, the racetrack, not to be confused with what Jeff Ross looks like when he smokes a cigar. Sam J, an obese
Can we pause it?
African-American
Yeah.
lesbian.
Wait, you might
So
want to
I-
rewind that a little bit because yeah, that's all. I mean, look, he's just killing it. Like and by the way, this is edited. Like this is like cut little clips. Like at one point, he pauses because the crowd's going crazy, and he sees the comedian Hurricane in the crowd. He goes, "Hurricane's giving me a standing ovation. That's how I know I'm killing." Like, let's just drop it a little bit back because he does some really good stuff here too.
Yeah.
This is where he goes
Sam
across.
J, an obese African-American lesbian. So by having here, Netflix checked off a lot of boxes. Andrew Schultz, I'm glad you took a break from watching YouTube videos on how to dap up black dudes correctly. Schultz's mom is a professional ballroom dancer, which means she's a stripper that talks too much. Bert Kreischer is a king. He looks like if the Tiger King and the Liver King only ate Burger King and had a liver that looked like Martin Luther King got beat up by Rodney King. And how about the appearance from the great Ron Burgundy, huh? A whale's vagina, which reminds me, Kim Kardashian's here. She's had a lot of black men celebrate in her end zone. Kim, word of advice, close your legs. You have more public beef than Kendrick and Drake. Thank you, guys.
Now,
But
is
yeah.
is it true that Netflix edited that off, or was it
Yeah, they
something
put a
else?
disclaimer in there. Yeah, they did. Well, because
Uh,
she's such a powerful media person. I mean, look, I don't. Netflix can blow me. Netflix is my least favorite streaming service. They have a couple of
mhm.
good things, and that's it. But yeah, I mean, they did cave a little bit. But the fact that they ran with this live, and by the way, this is just a little smidgen B show. Like, there's a lot of other good stuff in there. Like, not just from Tony, but in general. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I think I
They
saw
edited
some
out
of
because she
Nikki's
got
set.
booed to death. She got booed to death, and they edited the booing. Thank you, Slave
Yeah,
Cheeks.
and then, who was it? Jeff Ross. Tom Brady came up and said, "Don't ever say that again,"
Yeah, about
and
massaging his son. He made a massage joke about remember when he was massaging his son, or I like it was something about
oh, yeah.
massages or Bill Belichick.
He
Oh
walked
no,
into Belichick's office
no,
and asked
not
him for a
Kraft
massage.
with the owner of the
Oh, that's
Patriots,
right.
Kraft. Yeah, about the massage joke. He was like, don't fucking say that shit. Yeah, I didn't see the roast either, same cheeks. I saw the highlights. There. But B show, here's a guy not very famous really, but who's more known for comedians, who just took his time and destroyed, and he'll be bigger as a result of it.